Hi everyone, this is Dr. Rebecca Kason, and today I'm going to talk to you about the skill opposite action. This is one of our skills that are aimed to help regulate unwanted emotions. Are you ever overwhelmed by emotions or feel helpless when it comes to acting on them? Sometimes we use negative coping skills to escape painful emotions because it feels like the easiest or maybe even the only way to cope. For example, if we feel scared, we might feel the urge to avoid or escape the situation. If we feel angry, we might become defensive or lash out. Or if we feel sad, we might withdraw or isolate. But the issue with this is that it usually leads to a cyclical effect, right? When more unwanted emotions happen. Now that we avoided whatever the feared event was, even that much more scary. So instead of helping our problems, it actually much so worsens them. So the skill of opposite action is actually doing the opposite of your usual response to emotions. So it's a deliberate attempt to act opposite of your emotional urge. So let's take a look at what that might look like. For fear, you might typically want to run away and avoid, right? So instead, you might want to use opposite action and approach and don't avoid. This might be really important right now. A lot of us have a number of meetings online or obligations that we might not feel up to right now, especially given the emotional weight of what's going on in the world. So we might want to run away, we might want to avoid, but with opposite action, the idea is to approach rather than avoid. So to show up for the meeting, even though you don't feel like it, even though it's the last thing you want to do. Sometimes that is a success in of itself. You went to the meeting even though you didn't feel like it, and that's to be celebrated, and that's to be to help you reward yourself. Other times, your attendance in the event might help you realize that whatever you were afraid of wasn't as bad it wasn't as bad as you thought it would be, and the next time that you might have that meeting, it might feel a little bit less scary. And the action of attending the meeting, despite the fact that you had the urge to avoid it, might actually be rewarding in and of itself. That feeling of you did it anyway, you might feel proud of yourself, and that might help boost your mood. So sometimes opposite action is actually the medicine you need in that situation rather than acting on that action urge. Let's take a look at a few other emotions. When we experience anger, our action urge might be to attack. So let's say you're getting angry at someone that you're sharing a household with, they're getting on your nerves. You typically might respond by verbally attacking them or expressing your anger with them in some way. So the opposite action of that is to gently avoid or be a little nice to that person. That doesn't mean that they need to be your best friend right now, and that doesn't mean you need to spend all your time with them, but you can gently avoid them instead of attacking them, and that might actually lessen the tensions between the two of you and allow you to work on improving your relationship sooner. Because if you attack the other person, then they're going to respond probably in an unfavorable way, and now you have a secondary problem in addition to your primary problem. We'll take a look at one more common emotion, sadness. So the action urge for sadness is often to withdraw or isolate, and the opposite action of that would be to get active, right? So this is very similar to my prior example about anxiety. We might not want to join a Zoom call with our friends. We might not be feeling up to it. We might be feeling too sad to do so. But what being active with our friends might be the exact medicine that we needed in that moment. We just didn't even realize that we needed it. Going to that Zoom call, if you can get yourself to do so, or when you can get yourself to do so, might be incredibly rewarding and incredibly activating as you realize that it was more fun than you thought. Another example is you can quite literally get active. You can do any form of exercise that you enjoy, and that will help kind of activate your life, activate your sense of enjoyment and feelings of mastery and achievement over life. Now you just achieved something, even something as simple as a walk, and that will help you feel more motivated to do more things as your day goes on and be more productive, more engaged in your day. So how do you do opposite action? First, you have to identify and name the emotion, right? If you don't know what that emotion is, then you can't get a better understanding of how to act opposite to that. Next is to check the facts. So see if your emotion is justified by the facts. Sometimes what you're afraid of is something you should be afraid of, and it might actually be effective for you to avoid that thing. So check the facts and see if there's validity in your action urge. And if there is, then don't do opposite action. But if there isn't, if your action urge would be not in line with your goals, then do opposite action. Next, identify and describe your action urge. So I gave a few examples for fear, anger, and shame, and sadness, but they might be different for you. So think that through. What is your urge? Because that's completely unique. Ask your wise mind if your emotion is if your action urge is effective, right? Ask yourself, is this something that's helping me? And if not, maybe it's something that needs to be worked on, right? Or maybe it needs to be something that is not tolerated, that we act opposite to it instead. Then identify what that opposite action would be and what it would look like. And then after that, act opposite all the way. Don't just do it a little bit, but fully embrace it. Don't just go to the Zoom call for 5 minutes. Go to the whole thing, participate as much as possible. That's how you're really going to show yourself that it wasn't as scary or wasn't as burdensome as you had thought. Then repeat acting opposite until your action urges changes, right? So eventually, as you fully embrace the situation, no matter what it might be, you'll start to really realize that it wasn't as bad as you had thought, and you'll start, and the actual opposite of whatever your feeling was. So if you're using the example of sadness, you might actually start to experience happiness. So that might kick in, and you might achieve your desired emotion as a result. So I hope you found that helpful. Opposite action is so applicable to what people are going through today and any day, and is so helpful for helping people stay in line with their goals.